so much for your time. Are you still in Chile?
Yes, yeah, we leave tomorrow. We come to Brazil tomorrow.
Yeah, and how has the Latin America tour been so far? You guys played in Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Chile, right?
Yeah, so I'm loving this tour. This has been one of my favorite tours ever, honestly. Latin America's just got such a passionate audience. You know, there's it's so welcome and warm. They go crazy, and it's just great to play to. You feel like you're welcome, and you know, people really they're really enjoying it. So we're having the best time ever.
Good to know. And what it's like touring with Mötley Crüe? These guys used to be real party animals, but nowadays things are a little different, right?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Tommy and all of the guys actually from the 80s, you know, and I used to hang out, and yeah, I used to get crazy there. So we've known each other. We've all gone through all these different things. I was talking before, but you know, me and Nikki Sixx, we both have 5 children. Our birthdays are a year apart, but only 4 days apart as well. So both in December. And so we have a lot in common. So I think that when you can come out the other side and you're still alive and everything's great, there's so much to celebrate, and you don't have to get wasted to do it. You know, we celebrate by being on tour, and together we get on so well with the band, and it's just 2 different versions of rock music. You know, it's you know, they're a different style than us, but it works. It kind of makes the audience, they get more than if they just saw 2 bands that were the same kind of style. So it's better than it could be. So we're loving it, and so are they. It's great.
That's really good to know. And you just mentioned that you guys have been friends for a long time, but how did the idea of touring together come about?
So we were doing a Vegas residency and in 2019, and it's like, well, what about the next tour? Because we toured with I think Journey was the last time we toured the States, and we'd done a few stadiums. They said, what about if you did all stadiums and we got Mötley Crüe to come out of retirement? And we're like, really? You think they'd do that? And they did. You know, they came out because the idea, it's like going on tour, Def Leppard, Mötley Crüe, stadiums, and all around America. And we'd never really done that, a whole stadium tour. So everyone was thrilled, and it was amazing. It was really incredible. So with the success of that, you know, everyone's like, well, what about bringing it around the rest of the world? And then when South America came up, it's like, we have one giant airplane, which is hilarious. It's so much fun. And everyone sits on it. You know, I'm looking over, there's Tommy over there, and there's, you know, Joe's up the front there. And, you know, it's really funny. And it's like a bunch of kids really enjoying each other. You know, and like I said, you know, been through all of that crazy stuff, come out the other side, you've grown up. Like I said, we've got kids, and we've all got a lot in common, and we both play rock bands, and we're passionate about what we do. So it's great. It's a great team.
Awesome. And I have seen you say in other interviews that you think some of Def Leppard's recent shows were some of the best of the band's career, because today you all sing and play even better than before. How do you guys keep yourselves motivated to improve and evolve after all the success you already achieved? So
we haven't achieved what we really set out to do yet. There's another level, and we're not there yet. You know, when you think of Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones or Queen, that's another level, and we're not there yet. So we've got to do that. So we sing and play. I mean, I love those bands. They're my idols, don't get me wrong. But on a good day, we're a better live band than any of those bands. If you technically, you know, we push it. We work harder. We work physically. We work, every day I practice. I just sit around playing a guitar, and even if I'm going like gypsy, I sit down, I can't pretend, just different things to keep it voice going, and play guitar every day, so that you reach you keep it at a certain level for playing live, and then you push it. I can't believe when we're singing live that it's actually real. It sounds so good. It sounds like a record, but that's because like me, Joe, Sav, and Vivian have been singing together for 30 since Vivian joined, 30 years, and 41 years for me. We've been singing every day, so we take advantage of that. It's a really precious gift, and we're aware of it. So we keep pushing it, make it even better. So that's the motivation, and we've always trying to write better songs, record better records, and that's it really. And going to a different, like I said, you know, that other bracket, that Stones thing.
Absolutely, I agree with you, because you guys sound better than some bands that we used to watch just in videos or in the 70s, when you didn't have the mentality of get even better. You are just enjoying the moment in the 70s and the 80s. It's different right now.
It is, and I think the other competition, you know, there's a lot of pop and hip hop, country, and they sing to tracks. They play samples and they sing over the top and play over the top. We don't. We you know, we obviously will have some loops for Rocket or Love Bites, you know, like keyboard parts or something. But all the vocals are real. Everything else is totally real, and it sounds different. Like you like obviously hear the odd mistake, you know, it's like your voice goes or something, which is cool, you know, it's like great. But for most part, it's pretty spectacular, and I like that feeling. It's really good. And like I said, you know, we're competing with, you know, when you go on tour, Beyonce's out there, and you know, Taylor Swift, and they're doing this thing, but we're live, and we're a rock band. And again, I said this before, and it sounds corny, but us and Mötley Crüe are keeping rock alive, because it's getting ignored, because, you know, everyone's into just other styles of music.
Absolutely. Well, and now talking about Brazil, it's like a roller coaster of emotions because of the Rock in Rio cancellation in 1985, the empty concerts in 1997, and then a full blast in 2017, finally playing Rock in Rio and other cities. How do you feel about these ups and downs, we can say, with the Brazilian audience?
You know, I just wish we'd have been coming a lot earlier. That's the thing, you know, but and the same thing happened in parts of Europe. We were so concentrated on making records, really. You know, some of our records would take 3 years. So you have to start again. It's like starting from scratch. So, you know, we'd have this great records, but then we would lose some of that momentum and appeal. So that's the only regret. We should, if this mindset we have now, we'd have been coming down a lot more, because we actually work harder now than we ever did before, and it's slightly easier because, like I said, we're better musicians, so you can, it's okay to work harder because there's so many benefits, and that's the big difference between a lot of bands, you know. And again, my motto is your best isn't good enough, and that's just the starting point. You've got to be above that, and a lot of bands don't do that, and that's their problem. It's not ours, you know. But we see that a lot, you know. So it's I like the fact that we work hard and you get rewarded for that.
Absolutely. Well, and do you have any memories about the empty concerts in 1997? Because to this day, people in Brazil still talk about it. It became almost folkloric. So any memories from the tour in 1997?
Yeah, well, I remember we played Rio, and we thought, oh, Rio de Janeiro, this is going to be crazy. And there was like 100 people there. And we're like, did no one tell him? And it was great for the 100 people who came. It was amazing. And we've always done that. You know, I have a side band, and it's me, Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots, Debbie Blackwell Cook, and Forrest Robinson. 2 of those guys have got Grammys, and, you know, I'm in this band that's sold over 100 million albums. We played this place in California, Santa Cruz, and 15 people showed up. And it was the best show of the tour. You know, we done extra songs. We got in, you know, guys, so what do you want to hear? And and just made it special. I mean, that's the thing. It's a privilege to play live still. It's like, it's not like we take it for granted. We never take it for granted. And it's why a lot of people can see it. There's an integrity there, I think.
Yeah. And now I want to ask you about the recent album, The Great Diamond Star Halos. I read in some interviews you say this album was different because you didn't know you were making an album, and that's why this album sounds a little like a tribute to some of your early influences like David Bowie, T-Rex, Mötley Crüe. We can also feel that as listeners. But how happy were you with this album?
It was my favorite experience recording an album. Me and Joe, basically, when we was going to record 2 songs in Dublin and COVID happened, so we just sat at home, and you know, like I said, my son was 2 then, so I got to play with him every day, and then I'd write songs, and me and Joe were talking, and it was like, I got this idea, and it wouldn't really be for a Def Leppard song because it kind of sounds like something else. And before we knew it, we were writing. We had 5 songs finished, just the 2 of us, and they were really exciting. So we thought, we could do an album like this. We got the rest of the guys in, everyone played on the stuff, and then we saw what other songs we would get, you know, that were half finished. And before we knew it, we had too many songs actually. There was a couple that we didn't finish off, which never happens with Def Leppard. You know, but we were just so inspired to write and just and record. You know, I'd done everything on my laptop, you know, on a table like this, and it was just great. It was just the way to do it. It was a very enjoyable experience. I'd done all my vocals either upstairs in my closet with all the clothes to keep it dead, or downstairs and all the guitars in the living room. That's where I had my computer set up. So it was great, and it was just it totally inspired. And that was, and everyone really loved that approach because they could be at home, do their own thing, but then really work hard on the stuff that we were creating.
That's great. And going a little back in time, I want to ask you about Pyromania because that album just completed 40 years of its release. And I also read you say in some interviews that one of the biggest reasons this album became so special was having Mötley as a producer. We already know that he was very demanding and meticulous, but he clearly knew what he was doing. What memories do you have of working with Mötley on Pyromania, your first album with the band, by the way?
For me, it was totally inspired and inspiring because Mutt is kind of, he just knows more. He's got so much experience, and he's okay blending, making a hybrid, blending different styles of music, but keeping it rock, keeping the integrity of rock. And that album, you know, it's very much a rock album, but it had different elements in it. It had all the backing with vocals, and, you know, he found out I could sing. So he started getting me singing on stuff as well. And then the playing, my style was different to Steve and Pete Willis. It was a more of an American, it was more of an aggressive style. So it just worked great. You know, the first thing I did was stage fright. And I came in and Mutt said, well, here's the track, take that home and figure a solo out. So I came in the next day, plugged my Destroyer into this Marshall, and that was like the first or second take. And that was, everyone's like, whoa, this is a different thing. And then it was photograph. And I had so much fun because my role was lead guitar, solos, and all the fun stuff. You know, it's like, okay, just pretend you're Eddie Van Halen on this track. And Mutt was just great. I think I got this, we're very good at working very hard, like I said, but Mutt works really hard. He's the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. And some of that rubbed off. He said, to make it special, unique, and immortal, you have to put extra work in. And so he, you know, he taught us that. So it wasn't really much demanding. It was just showing us how things work. Like if you don't want to work hard, it kind of sounds like it. And that you can't be bothered, it kind of sounds like it. Like in sports, you know, it's like you get someone training in the UFC or boxing or whatever it is, soccer, they can be playing football, and someone's not really working so hard. You know, all of a sudden it shows. You're not good enough to get in the first team. You sit on the bench because you're not putting enough in, or you're sick or whatever. But it's the same with this. You have to always be putting. I remember Mike Tyson when he kind of stopped training that hard. And this is Mike Tyson, the most dangerous boxer in the world. And he got in the ring and got his ass whooped, you know, because he didn't train. he didn't get in there and do it. So you've constantly got to do that. And, you know, obviously he did after that, but because you realize, but it's hard work. And I think that's the thing with Mutt that was so special.